Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you the second half of our Week 11 Fantasy Football Starts and Sits. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you should have in your lineup, who you need to take out, and who's going to break your heart if you don't make the right decision. Let's get this Fantasy Football podcast started right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. That is Kyle. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. And today we are giving you the second half of our Start Sit questions for Sunday and Monday games of this Week 11. Definitely check out our first half for our Start Sits for Week 11 by clicking the link where Kyle's going to point. Also check out our top start streamers and fades episodes from earlier this week, but actually all episodes from this week are in the description below. I don't know about you, Kyle, but I had a lot of fun yesterday on yesterday's episodes. So definitely check it out, man. If you're a fan of Cleveland,
sorry,
check it out, I guess.
you can pass.
Yeah,
you can pass. I mean, you can pass. Baker can't.
Oh, round two.
Yeah, round two. Boom, boom, boom. We like Cleveland. Great Lakes State. Come on, Great Lakes City. All right, guys. So make sure you click subscribe and the bell so you're notified every time we upload this podcast that goes after Cleveland, apparently, for no particular reason. Hey, we're moving on to Week 11, finishing it up actually onto the end of Week 11 here. And make sure you run and check your waiver wire, see what's going on there. This is the last chance to grab anybody before the waivers lock, because if you're in a league that does not have locking waivers, get out of that league.
Yep.
All right. So also, we are always asking, do you need assistance? So if you have any questions where you've got start sit questions, trades, pickups, we've had some good ones this week so far. Make sure you throw those in the comments down below, or you can check out one of our Twitter handles here and send us a direct message or just a question on Twitter in general. We're always there trying to help out and more than willing to answer questions. Let's dive in head first into the shallow end and get started on the rest of the matchups for Week 11 and see what we got. Right off the top, this barn burner, this wonderful matchup, this ratings draw, this behemoth of a matchup. We have the New York Jets versus the LA Chargers. That is right. The New York Jets. I'll take the Jets right off the top. Let me see here. Joe Flacco, my note is meh. You could do better. And you could do worse, I suppose. It is a good matchup. And that's the sole reason that he might be worth starting in multi-flex or, super flex or 2 QB leagues, or if you're just absolutely desperate that every QB you start gets injured, help the Jets out. They are trying to tank. So, start him, get him hurt. They can blame you then.
Yeah.
And then I have another note here on Chris Herndon. Just all the promise and nothing to show for it. So classic Adam Gase player. And
he's going to do great if he leaves the Jets.
Oh yeah, he will.
He's got talent.
And this week is actually a great matchup, and that's why my note is there. There's all kinds of opportunity, but then he's on the Jets, and Adam Gase is the worst. Sorry. All right, so what do you have on the Chargers?
I had the over/under at 2.5 on the worst drop, so hopefully we'll get another one in.
I'm sure we will at some point.
Oh, yeah. So for the Chargers, I have a start for Justin Herbert. He's an every week start with a good rushing floor, so just fire him up. If you're in a keeper league, hopefully you got him early, so good for you. Yeah. When it comes to running backs, man, can we have Austin Eckler back yet? Can we just have him back so you can start this one person? Because I really cannot bring myself to tell people out there to start Kalen Ballage. I cannot force myself to say it. So
wait.
Don't be that guy.
You can't do that.
Exactly. So I am telling you to sit that one. Mm-hmm. But wide receivers, Keenan Allen, look for him to get back to those 10-plus targets. If he does that, he's the wide receiver too, but that's his highest up. That's like the highest upside you can get out of him because
he was getting like 14 to 24 targets a game and only 80 yards to show for it.
It was still part of the year. That's what I mean. If you get 10-plus targets, it's very limited upside. Yeah. He's going to get
you. He has a ceiling when it comes to his yardage output. He can have all the targets,
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because he hits the ceiling.
hits
He's
that
like,
and
well,
it's
I
done.
can't catch that anymore. Yeah.
No.
So
Mike Williams is
PPR, fire him up. He's probably
absolutely.
wide receiver 2 overall.
Probably
in PPR. I don't know.
Mike Williams is a very much touchdown dependent wide receiver 3/flex. You could do worse, but if you have somebody else, definitely start him over if you can. Hunter Henry, he finally scored a touchdown last week. Heyo.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think we were talking about Jonnu Smith, about a guy that's going to get you 30 yards and you're hoping for a touchdown here or there. Hunter Henry has been hanging around those 30 yards pretty much week in and week out. So once again, you're just hoping that he just falls into the end zone and gets you a top 5 performance if you catch a touchdown at the tight end position.
That's pretty much what a touchdown in the tight end position has produced this
top 5.
season. Yep, top 5.
Top 5.
All right, let's move on here to Miami versus Denver. This is Miami at Denver. Tua, I'm saying it's actually a decent start opportunity. I think that you could throw him out there. You're hoping that he's going to excel and show that he is worthy of that pick that they made. I've seen the theory that what they've done actually is they've run him out there with the intention of seeing what they've got, and they have a lot of picks that they have coming from Houston and from other teams, I think. And so what they're like thinking is that they want to see what Tua Tagovailoa can do. And if you can't do anything, maybe they trade some of those picks, move up, and try to take one of the top QBs in the draft this year, and then get rid of Tua. It's possible. All right.
It
so
happened with what's his name? Josh Rosen. He was a top 10 pick, but I mean, Tua's probably better than him. But still, I mean, they moved on. The Cardinals did after 1 year, so it's not unprecedented.
Yep. All right, so let's run down here the running backs, and we are 6 deep on this, guys.
I know.
We are 6 running backs deep, and we're going to go to the 6th guy, and that is Salvon Ahmed. He is a desperation start, multi-flex play only, not a great matchup, but he does have a ton of opportunity, right? He got like 25 touches last week, I think it was. That's pretty darn good. So you can't argue with that. It's the same sort of logic behind starting James Robinson this week. He's getting the volume. There's no one taking anything away. Maybe Matt Breida is going to get a pass here and there, but that's about it. Haven't heard of Myles Gaskin in a while. And so, Salvon Ahmed. Devontae Parker, injuries have left him basically as the last man standing in the wide receiver room. Kind of what had happened last year as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there's upside there. So I'm saying you can start him. I think that if Tua is going to do anything, it's going to be because he's running and because he's throwing to Devontae Parker. And then my last note here is on Mike Gesicki. And my note is, who? The dude is MIA in MIA. That's kind of what's happened. So, but it's tight end. So your guess is as good as mine on him, I suppose, right?
I see what you did there, Kyle.
Yeah.
Clever.
Oh, yeah.
Clever.
Yeah, I am. It was, wait.
What is that, velvet?
That's right. It was velvet. All right. It was smooth. All right. So what do you have for Denver?
I don't have a whole lot, man. This matchup,
neither does Denver.
This defense is really good, and this offense is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Lock may play, but I just don't feel confident in someone that has rib damage, strains, and no fractures, I guess. But I mean, for a quarterback, I think that's pretty important. But Melvin Gordon made our fade list. But I mean, if you have to flex him, if you have nothing else, go for it, because whenever Lindsey and Gordon, Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon, they both struggle when they're both on the field. But, man, Lindsey put up a huge dud last week, so maybe they're going to lean a little bit more towards Melvin Gordon. But you know what? Denver offense, they may do just the opposite. My other note here, because I have everything else as a sit, is I have zero confidence in this passing game against this defense.
Mm-hmm.
Will Drew Lock be healthy enough to make the start? One of the 4 pass catchers, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, I mean, maybe one of the 4 will have a decent play, but you don't know which one that's going to be. So I just don't feel confident in saying go ahead and start one of those 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you have anything that you could
add on to that? I don't disagree. I mean, I think though that if Ripien ends up getting the start because Locke is out, I think that you can go toward Tim Patrick because the two of them do have rapport.
Yeah.
Well, he focused and zeroed in on Tim Patrick. And so I
Yep.
think you have an advantage there where you can say, okay, well, this guy's maybe not getting covered by the best corner in Miami. And so maybe he is a little more open or a little bit more available. And if he's getting zeroed in on repeatedly by this QB, then volume is king, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be about it. And I think that you've got better, more predictable situations available, hopefully.
Yep.
So moving on, we've got Dallas at Minnesota. I'll take Dallas here. I do want to mention, make sure that you go and screw over Minnesota by voting for Yannick Ngakoue in the Pro Bowl. Check out last episode to make sure that you can figure out why that's actually a thing this year, but apparently it is. So the entire NFC North and Jacksonville are working on it. Dude has 3 tackles on the year. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. He might make the Pro Bowl. Doesn't matter. They're just going to play video games for the Pro Bowl this year. Did you see that? That's what they're going to do. Play Madden. All right. So Dallas, Andy Dalton is, if he's playing as he should be, he can be started. So he's good for a solid baseline number for you. So he's best as like a streaming option or a QB2 or super flex option. But I wouldn't rely on him for much more than that. Cooper Rush is the start, I think, if Dalton doesn't play. But I really think that Dalton's out there. I see no reason why he shouldn't be. He's cleared the COVID list. He's out of that concussion protocol. He's through everything. Right. So he should be ready to go at this point. Ezekiel Elliott, obviously you're going to start him. You're also going to be disappointed because that's what Zeke's doing. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, throw them all out there, guys. This is a great situation, actually, because Minnesota's secondary is trash, just absolute trash. And so I think that those guys, all 3 are going to do really, really well. My only note is that if for some terrible reason, Mike McCarthy, who's the coach there, obviously, decides to act like Mike McCarthy and start Ben DiNucci at QB if Andy Dalton is out, then that means that Michael Gallup is the guy you start. That you absolutely have to start him because he's going to get 50 targets because apparently he and DiNucci only have eyes for each other. And so that's kind of where we're at on those guys. Dalton Schultz, this is a decent start with Andy Dalton because of the red zone opportunities that I foresee happening. And they do go to the tight end in the red zone quite often, it appears. So I think that Dalton Schultz could be counted on if Andy Dalton is starting. So that's where I'm at. What do you got on Minnesota?
Well, our good friend Kirk Cousins, super flex and 2 QB maybe against this defense, but still, yeah, that's the face. That's the face I want to see. Yeah. Dalvin Cook, start your studs. This is a good one. This is definitely our top start at running back this week. And then when it comes to wide receivers, Thielen and Jefferson, they're wide receiver 2s. I mean, that's what their numbers back it up. But there's a lot of boomer busts because that they can both get game scripted out.
Yeah.
If it
and not only that, that offense is predisposed to game script them out. Like the way that offense is supposed to run, they're supposed to be game scripted out.
Yep, absolutely. And it's my little note on here is Kirk Cousins stinks at throwing the football.
I mean, honestly, I think that their value is tied to being game scripted in. That's really what it boils down to. Like the running game has to fail for them to get opportunity. It's kind of like Seattle, right? The running game has to fail before they decide, oh, Russell Wilson, go save us.
Go win one for the Gipper. I do have another note here. Kyle Rudolph actually had a pretty good game last week. Irv Smith Jr. was out last week, and he may play this week. But if Irv Smith Jr. sits, file Kyle Rudolph up, man.
Yeah. Maybe that's why Dalvin Cook wasn't as effective last week, was that Irv Smith Jr. was out and he wasn't holding the whole time.
That's a callback for a couple episodes ago and a couple games ago where, Dalvin Cook just had a monster game. And
literally every time that they showed replays, is going right around Irv Smith just straight up pulling jerseys and stuff. It's like, what is going on? Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So moving on to our game of the week.
Boom.
our guys, this is once every 4 years that this happens, right?
Yep.
And it happens this year, of course. And that is the Green Bay Packers against the Indianapolis Colts. So this is actually, I think this is being played in Green Bay. For some reason, we have it set up as Green Bay at Indy. I think it's being played in Green Bay, right? It's Indy at Green Bay.
I'll look it up as you go through.
I'm pretty sure it is. All right. So I'll take Green Bay. You got Indianapolis, obviously, right? And Aaron Rodgers, you got to start him. He's carried you this long. Can't afford to abandon him now. So fire him up, get him going. Aaron Jones, Mr. Do-It-All. He is the Swiss Army knife for this team. So I think you got to start him. This is a very tough matchup, but he is fully healthy and ready to go. And he's ready to get it back on track. His value goes up if Davante Adams misses somehow. And guess what? Davante Adams missed practice on Thursday, completely out. He was limited on Wednesday, completely out on Thursday. I don't know as of right now whether or not he's missed on Friday, so you got to double check, but it is trending in the wrong direction right now. He was a little banged up at the end of the game last week, it seemed, and so his ankle is bothering him. He was walking gingerly on the sideline, and it's going in the wrong direction unless they just decided, you know what, we need to shut him down for the week and see how he does and get him better. That's the only chance you got. It's the only hope you got. Jamal Williams, going back to the running backs here, he's a multi-flex at best. At best.
Yeah.
And so don't even rely on that. Alan Lazard is a full start if Davante Adams misses, as well as Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think you can fire both of those guys up if Davante Adams is out, but your guess is as good as mine as to which one of those two might actually bring you any value if they do at all. And then finally, my only note is Robert Tonyan, rhymes with Funyon, ain't going to be fun this week because this is the best defense against tight end, and he is our tight end fade of the week. So avoid at all costs if you can. Hopefully you've got a better option. This is not going to be a very this is going to be an ugly game if Green Bay wins it. I really think, and I think that Indianapolis is relying on trying to play ugly games all the time. So what do you got on Indy?
And this is at Indianapolis, by the way.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I was at the last Green Bay at Indy game.
Really?
And yeah, I was. And, and that was a Brett Favre start, I think is what it was.
Brett Favre?
Might have been I think it was. Maybe it wasn't the last one. Maybe it was the one before that. I don't know, man.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Well, for the Indianapolis Colts, man, I like the team, of course, because they're my team, but it's really hard to gauge the consistency of the offense of where it's going to come that week. And if you watch any Colts games, if you follow fantasy football when it comes to the Colts, it's hard to trust a certain player. But Nyheim Hines is a guy that's a really good flex play in a PPR league. He's a decent flex in a non-PPR league. But Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Wilkins, they're both sits for me because either one could have the bigger workload between the two of them. But it's Nyheim Hines right now in this running back.
Third. I mean, it's really been a third for the snaps.
It really has. And it's just Hines has the better upside right now. He's the one that's getting the chunk yardages. And he's the one that's been converting at the goal line when Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Wilkins couldn't get it done last week.
Yeah.
Hines came in and did.
Well, and also Green Bay's gotten back their young middle linebackers.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah, that's actually slowed the run game down a little bit on opposing teams. So
absolutely,
not a whole lot. Don't get me wrong. Not going that far.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to wide receivers, Michael Pittman Jr., I feel like we had a bit of a coming out party last week. So I think he is the only wide receiver you can start on this team. He looks to be building chemistry with Rivers, and he looks to be fully healthy after that little bit of a scare that he had earlier this season. But other than that, man, I just don't feel any confidence with the other wide receivers or tight ends.
You got to hope that Jair Alexander continues to miss, though, if that's the case. Jair Alexander and Kevin King. Those guys, if they're out there and healthy, this is a lot different defense. It really is. So,
no, I get you, man. But I just don't have too much for my Indianapolis Colts, sadly. But up next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Kyle, Chiefs.
All right. Well, hey, you know him, you love him. Pat Mahomes, you're starting him. This is a decent matchup for the best QB in football right now. And guess what? He's going to exploit the heck out of this defense for revenge because that's the narrative that Andy Reid is selling his team right now. And I'm pretty sure an angry Pat Mahomes is probably not a Pat Mahomes that you want to face on defense right now. But the actual true weakness of this defense is the running game. And so Clyde Edwards-Helaire has got a great matchup here. I think you can fire him up. But Lev Bell, I'm going to say is a flex at best, but it's kind of a dart throw. If he gets any use, it's probably because it's turned into a blowout. And that's entirely possible, I suppose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rely on it. I mean, this is a divisional game, and I always kind of am wary of divisional games. I think that they get really weird usually, especially with like the NFC South for some reason. Always something about the NFC South. It's always really bad. Obviously, this is AFC West, but there's something about that one. And then the NFC East. What about them? That if they can find a way to lose, they will all do it. To one another, they will lose. That's what they do.
Or tie.
Year in, year out. Yeah. They're like, is it possible that we could both chalk a loss here? Well, we could chalk half a loss and call it a day. Well, let's do that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have that. Tyreek Hill. Hey, guess what? You're going to fire him up. You knew that. You've got him. You knew that. Sammy Watkins is back at practice, ready to go, but this is not a great opportunity, and you can't rely on the Lizard King. Mecole Hardman is a flex-only play. He's been kind of flex the whole season.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine. I actually managed to guess right one week, and in another league started DeMarcus Robinson and got lucky, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a weird tiered PPR league, and he just killed it for me that week. And I was just like, well, got to take him out of my lineup before that goes bad for me.
I definitely did that on purpose.
Yeah. Well, I kind of did because I had to. It was a really bad situation. I've talked about it before. It's that league where you've got a 22-man deep roster and you got to start like 16 of them.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last one, Travis Kelce, admit it. You missed your tight end last week. You did. You know it. You missed him. He's back. You get to have that nice, warm Travis Kelce blanket smothering you in the end zone with a touchdown or two. So fire him up. Hope that he gets you a win because at tight end, he's the only thing who can do it.
Yep.
All right. Las Vegas.
I don't have too much here. I feel like I haven't really been talking too much during our matchups because, I mean,
you got all the crap.
I did, man. And these are all home games that I've been talking about as well.
I think it's because I got right off the top. I had the word. And it kind of, so I got it all out once.
Yeah.
And then you get it the rest of the time.
Yeah. Because for this game, I mean, I see Josh Jacobs, of course, as a running back one. And he had a pretty big week last week, and it could have been even bigger if it weren't for the fact that the Raiders were just blowing out the Broncos. So I look at him as a top 5 running back for this week and probably the rest of the weeks. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip over everybody else. You know, Devontae Booker has been getting some play here recently, but if you look at it, it's because one, Josh Jacobs was sick 1 week and he had some really good action. And then last week I just mentioned they were blowing out the Broncos. So they brought in Devontae Booker to give Josh Jacobs another breather. But no wide receivers for me, nobody to trust. If you've been playing fantasy football, you kind of know that there's nobody on the Raiders you can trust at wide receiver. But for tight end, Darren Waller, I mean, it's been a disappointing year, and I feel like we've been saying that all the time when it comes to tight ends. It's disappointing, yet he is still a top 5 tight end, Kyle. I mean, that tells you exactly what you need to know.
I think it tells you more about the tight end position than it does about Darren Waller.
Yes. 2020 tight end position. I mean, it's a true 2020. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
It really is
perfectly.
Yeah. Just I want to mention one thing because this team is actually on bye this week. I'm hearing some noise about George Kittle being back possibly in week 12, that it is a possibility that he's back.
Really?
In week. Yeah. There's the possibility that he's back in week 12. It turned out that he did not need pins in his foot. that the break that he had was not one that needed it.
Hmm.
So it is possible that he'll be back in week 12. It's more likely he'll be back in week 13. The only concern here is that if he gets an additional injury of any kind, they may just decide to shut him down completely.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's at. But
yeah,
just wanted to throw that out there now that we're talking about the tight end position in general, because they're on bye this week, I think. All right. So our last matchup is the LA Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so here we've got, I'll take the Rams. And as you can see, Justin,
yeah,
whole lot of nothing. So it's bookends. I had the Jets to start. I got the Rams to finish, and I'm saying the only weakness on this defense that you can rely on in any way, shape, or form is the tight end. And so you can maybe consider Tyler Higbee.
That would be the one that you would. So Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I mean, really?
Dude, this defense shuts that stuff down. It does. I think that if you're firing those guys up, it's because you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
And but you're going to get next to nothing. I think you're going to be lucky to find those guys finishing in the top 36 wide receivers and providing a wide receiver 3+ day for you. And so that's why I'm saying I do not believe they are startable, because while there will be volume, I think that what the ultimate decision is going to be is this team is going to have to turn back to the run game, go tight end heavy, and then good luck. Tell me which one of these running backs you're going to rely on.
Yeah.
So you can't start any of them because it's New England's backfield basically, right? Up until Damian Harris got healthy. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Pick one. Good luck. It's roulette. And it's not the good kind of roulette. It's the bad kind with the gun. It's the bad kind.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just want to clarify.
Appreciate that.
Just make sure that you understood exactly the type of roulette I was talking about.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, he made our fade of the week. And he's still a super flex or two QB lead starts. But it's one of those things where we talked about pressure up the middle, and that's what the Rams can do. So that's where Tom Brady does struggle, if he ever does, and that's where it comes from. But on to running back, start Ronald Jones. I feel like he has taken back the number one running back duties. Yes, I said duties.
I was going to say, did you just say duties or duties? Yeah.
But he had that fumble a couple weeks ago, and he got benched for it. But last week, he blew up. I mean, granted, a lot of his yardage came from the 98-yard scamper, but he put up another 100 yards on top of that. So not too shabby. So what that means is a start for Jones. That's a sit for Fournette. But for wide receivers, I think Jalen Ramsey is going to shadow Mike Evans. And if we know anything about Jalen Ramsey this year, if that's the case, then I would have to sit Mike Evans. And I just feel like that's probably what's going to happen this week.
He's on my bench in our league.
Really? So we're on the same page there.
Yeah. But I have the luxury of having Amari Cooper as an option instead.
Yeah.
But I do have Jalen Reagor in my lineup.
Yeah, there you go. Well, here's another guy, the artist formerly known as Chris Godwin. Where have you been this year? But I think you could have a good game. And
he skipped out on all the immunity pills. He didn't take them.
Well, hopefully he's going to go ahead and start this week, because when I talked about pressure up the middle going against Tom Brady, he's going to have to get the ball out quick. Chris Godwin plays in the slot. He hangs around that area quite a bit. So I think Tom Brady's going to have to throw the ball quickly. And I think Chris Godwin still has enough talent to get open as quickly as possible. So I think he could have a good week.
Well, and Godwin can play closer to the line more often than Evans can. Evans is he's just too lanky for it. Yeah, he's a perimeter player. He needs man-on-man coverage. He needs not to deal with the zone. Godwin, on the other hand, can break zone very, very well. And so he does better in the interior situations.
Yeah.
So I think that he's a little bit better option in this week. And I agree with you.
Yep. Other wide receiver, I'll just say his initials, AB, flex option if you have to.
But you should cut him from your team and kick the team out that picked him up.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
CTEAB. But next up, Rob Gronkowski.
Very different than pre-CTEAB.
Oh, very different. I mean, we saw that screw getting loose whenever he got hit by Fontes. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was broken. That changed that man's life.
That dude got broke. But Gronk, he's a touchdown dependent.
I do want to mention though that he's been down in Florida the whole time. The whole time that he was waiting, right? So that kind of had a hint. But while he was down there, he also committed another crime that he is having to plead guilty.
Security cameras, don't need them. Don't need them in private community or anything like
Not
that.
at all.
Let's just go beat those up.
It's like they wanted to say something like, "Oh, we didn't want to prosecute him for it," and it's like he's the reason you had the cameras. That's why you get those cameras, is for people who are residents who decide, I'm just gonna beat the crap out of cameras.
Yeah. But back to Gronk, he's had 4 touchdowns the last 5 games. A very high possibility of getting another one here, and still a touchdown dependent tight end one, but I think
that's the reason Evans is becoming unstartable. Evans's value is tied to the fact that he had like 8 touchdowns in a very short span of time, but he was getting no yardage because Tom Brady doesn't throw the ball deep at all apparently anymore. And
the
so
well dried.
Yeah. And so it's Gronkowski's been profiteering off of Mike Evans' disappearance, and Jalen Ramsey's not going to help that situation. So Rob Gronkowski, fire him up.
Yep.
Yep.
That's all I got, man.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. But as a parting gift to Justin, because it is that week.
You suck, Packer. Oh, is that how it goes?
No, that is not how it goes.
Oh, my bad.
You can ask Dan. He knows how it goes too. All right. So that's going to do it for this week. That is all of the episodes you're going to get, but you can still feel free to ask us questions because we are always asking you that question. So if you do have any questions, feel free to hit us up. If you drop a question like a half hour before the games start, there is no guarantee that you're going to get an answer back, guys. Okay. I try to get up there. I try to get on there as much as possible on Sunday morning to answer questions. I do better on Saturday. So if you are setting your lineup on Saturday and you want some help, make sure that you go ahead and hit us up for those questions. Sunday, I will try to do my best, but there ain't no guarantees. You're rolling those dice on me there, guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell. That way you're notified every time we upload this podcast. And I'm going to toss onto the screen the starter, streamers, and fades for this week, as well as the other breakdown of all the matchups that we did yesterday. So you can check all that out. And we thank you guys for being fans of the upside. We hope that we're helping you get towards that championship. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.